Hi, my name's Keith Cooper, and in this short video I'm going to look at the G550 printer from Canon here and the Pro 200. Now, to me they're entirely different printers for different markets, but quite a few people have asked me, should I get a G550? This is also available in a version with a scanner on top, which is a G650, G640 in the US. Model numbers may vary, but the essence of it is that this is an ink tank printer with 6 ink tanks there, and this one takes conventional cartridges. It's the Pro 200. I've got detailed reviews and articles about each of them, about what you can do. So I've got videos about printing long prints on this, canvas on this, and all kinds of other stuff like that. So I'm not going to cover detail, but it's a question, should I get this or this, that to me is obvious, but I can see why I'm thinking about it, why some people might ask. So what are the obvious differences? Well, size, you can see this one's considerably lighter as well. This one does A4 maximum size. This one does A3 plus, or 13 inch by 19 inch. Well, that's fairly obvious differences there. Costs. The G550 here, which is the basic printer model, is considerably cheaper than the Pro 200. Yeah, fair enough. Different market for it. There's also the cost, and this is the one that gets people's interest, of the inks. This is an ink tank printer. So you fill this, you fill it from ink bottles, and you keep these tanks topped up and you print with that, and the ink costs are much lower. So I can see why people might go, I want a cheaper printer, I don't need the big prints, I like the cheap running costs of this. What they're really asking me is, are the prints from this as good as you get out of this? And I would say quite often you can't tell the difference, with provisos, but in general the prints you get from this are decidedly better than you get from this. Now, it's not obvious, and it depends on what you want from your prints and on your skill editing and printing and other things like that. So it comes down to what you actually want from them. Now, I mentioned size, this obviously much larger. From a usability point of view, this has a very small display on the top, very basic display. It does what it needs to do. You operate it with the buttons, and there you go. The display on this is much better. It's not a touch screen, but it's a much better. And I've looked at the 200 compared to its earlier version, the Pro 100, and the 200 is in a different league from a usability point of view. That's how easy it is to use, get prints out of it. They're both pretty easy. They both support quite a range of software, but really what people want to know is, what's the quality of this like versus this one here? Well, let's look at those inks for a starter. This one, we have 6 inks here. We have the standard black, cyan, magenta, yellow, which mix up and make colours, greys, whatever. But we also have a grey and a red ink in this one here. So that's the 6 inks you get here. However, you get more inks in the Pro 200. You get, the carts are smaller because they're little carts rather than the ink tanks in here. You get the cyan, magenta, yellow, black. You get a grey with this, but you get a pale cyan and pale magenta. Now, a lot of people are confused by when they see grey inks in the mix. I think, grey inks, it must be good for black and white. Oh, were it so, it is not. The grey inks are to allow the printer makers to use stronger colours and mix it with grey rather than black. So if you want to make light colours, you mix a bit of grey in with some colour and it makes a less dense colour. The approach here has the grey and it has the pale cyan and pale magenta. That means that if you've got photos with fine gradients of colour in them, tend to find the results are slightly better here. Certainly not something I can show on a video, but in terms of quality, after I've done testing, looking at the image, you can see a subtle difference between the two. Now, this is a subtle difference if they're set up right. Now, back to the inks. This is Canon's older Chromalife 100 inks, and these are, in this one, are the Chromalife 100 Plus. The 100 Plus is a better ink set. It's a refined, developed ink set based on the one that's here. Now, they're both current printers. These inks don't last probably quite as long in your prints as you're printing with here. They're not going to fade, they're good, but in general, the Chromalife 100 Plus inks are better. Canon, when they bought them out, put loads of their marketing stuff on why the 100 Plus were better. I've no reason to doubt what they said. That's compared to that one. So I would choose the 100 Plus inks on that. Now, I mentioned the grey. People tend to associate it with black and white. No. Both of these will print black and white. This one will do quite well on some papers, and I've looked at black and white printing in detail on the 200 here. My personal preference would be a pigment ink printer for black and white printing, but that's, you know, that's more expensive. That's a step up again. But for printing black and white here, I found that the black and white print mode, if you used it in the driver, which is what I'd normally recommend here for this printer, just wasn't quite right. It had slight colour casts. I improved that by making some custom profiles, but even so, this is not a printer for high quality black and white. You will be able to get some quite good looking black and white prints of it, but if I put them against something from this, or even a pigment, say the Pro 300, the next one up from this, then the differences will be clear, particularly when you change the lighting that you're looking at your prints under, because the prints from this one, much less so from this one, tend to change colour a little bit as you change your lighting. So this is LED halogen replacement lamps. It might have a look fairly neutral here, but the moment I go somewhere else and there's a bit of daylight comes in, the print may have a slight greenish cast, or under tungsten lighting, I notice it might take a magenta cast. I've looked at this in the reviews, so you know, if these things matter to you, have a look at the more detailed stuff that I've done and not go into it here. But suffice to say, I can get black and white from this. Yeah, probably from this one here. But then that reflects what my needs are. If you don't need black and white, it doesn't really matter. Now, I'm going to say this one is far more an office printer. Certainly if you put the scanner on top, the 650 version. It's more of a general purpose printer that can print some photos. Whereas this one is an out and out photo printer. This is one, you know, I will produce nice looking pictures, so I'll get a print like this on a glossy metallic paper. That's the Town Hall at Leicester. That's from the 200, and these prints look absolutely superb on this particular printer here. For this, they look not bad, but they're not up to what I can get out of this. There really is a difference. You know, if you're after the quality, then you know, cut to the chase and say you get what you pay for. It just costs more to run. Let's say this. Although I said it's an office film, it doesn't have an auto document feeder or any of the stuff. If you want an office printer for high volume office printing, occasional photos, Canon have got other models which will suit you better than this. This is, as I say, this one will do photos and it'll do small stuff as well, which is something I'll come back to on media in a moment. For this one here, Canon and paper manufacturers will supply ICC profiles. ICC profiles are essential to match up the papers you use, whether it's Canon paper or third-party paper, with getting the best results in the printer. Canon provide profiles for their own papers, and many suppliers will actually provide profiles, or some you can buy some paper off them, print a target out, send it off to them, and they'll make a custom profile for you. When we come to the 550, there's a big difference here. If you're using this on a PC, on a Windows PC, then sure, you can make profiles. Almost no one is going to provide profiles for you, but profiles work on it. If you're using a Mac, such as I am, and this is connected up to my MacBook Pro, this one here, this picture here is from when I was doing some testing on the 550 here. I did quite a lot of prints with it, including attempting to make profiles. Unfortunately, Canon used the AirPrint driver for Macs on this printer, and that effectively kills off effective color management. Now, I've worked out ways around this. They are only partial ways around it, and if you have a printer like this and you use it on a Mac, then I have lots of profiles that are available to experiment with. They will not work on a PC. They're only partial profiles, but they do improve printing dramatically on the 650 on a Mac. So to my mind, when I discovered that there was no proper colour management on this, I was tempted to say, why am I bothering even testing this? Colour management is that important to high quality results. I got round it, I got it to work. You'll find details on all the videos and the articles I've written on that. Suffice to say, if precise colour, accurate colour, good quality colour matters, you'll be wanting to profiles, and in using profiles, that's the 200 or one of the other printers, one of the bigger printers that you can get with pigment inks. Works the same for those. No profiles, bit hit and miss as to the results you're going to get. Now, when I put papers through this, and I have a range of prints here, these are from the large 200 here. When I put media into this, I can put it in the back here, I can put it in, there's a feed slot at the back. There's lots of choices. There are lots of media choice settings. There are quite a few on this, but not as many as this. That affects when you're doing profiling. It alters how well stuff works. In general, you've got far more settings available on this. More settings gives you more control. You can use software like the media configuration tool. You can make custom media settings. This is all fairly advanced stuff. Not difficult, but fairly advanced stuff. And obviously, Canon decided that anyone who buys a printer like this little one here really isn't interested in that sort of stuff. And if you're not, then why should you bother with it? This can make very nice prints. In particular, I found this printer great for doing cards. Now, I had to make some custom profiles of my own for it to get the colours the way I want. But card feeding and media handling for small media is very good on this printer. Now, you can't load up loads and loads of cards at the back. It won't take loads of them, and it's going to be a slowish process. But if you want to make greetings cards, and let's say you're more bothered by the content rather than the precise, accurate colour or something, then this printer may well be something you can make use of. The ink costs will be low. Once again, if you're making stuff to sell, the key is not, and I've done loads of videos on the business side of photography. The key to know is your market. If you're in selling your cards at a relatively low cost, then the cheapness of the inks here makes a difference. If your customers wouldn't know accurate colour if it fell on them, then this is a printer for you. It is capable of accurate colour, but you have to make a bit more effort as the profiling. So, it's really what you want from it. And remember, this is a much cheaper printer to start with. It's also cheaper to run because of the ink tanks. So see where I'm coming at here. If you're just printing off cards and occasional family use, then this one may be overkill. If you're making prints to sell, then this one is much more fitting. The quality out of this is better. It handles thick papers well, it handles art papers well. You can get good prints out of this, but not necessarily all the time. Now, lest you think I'm sort of dissing the 550 as a useless printer here, that is not true. A few examples I printed with the 550. So there is a card done on a fairly stiff art paper. That's from a photograph. That's printed on that. There is a glossy picture printed on a gloss paper. And it is a spider in our garden dealing with a wasp. That's printed on the 550. I mentioned black and white. You can get black and white at the 550 with a bit of effort. There is a print on a thick art paper. There is one on a luster paper, a black and white. Now those aren't bad. If I was looking at them carefully, comparing them with other stuff, I can see problems in them, but I have to look carefully, and that's because I know what I'm doing and I test a lot of printers, and I use for my work that I sell even bigger printers than this with pigment inks. So don't think what I've said here means you can't get good results from a printer like this. It means that you need to put some effort into it. So if I'm printing software wise, I can use the Canon print layout software on this. Works a treat. I can print canvases, I can do long prints, all kinds of stuff. I need to use Canon's photo software. Who knows? I don't know what it is. It's a very much consumer oriented bit of software. I found it awkward to use, but then I use Photoshop for printing. So it's where you're coming from as to what difference it makes on that. So yeah, I'd use the print layout software for this. You can't use it for this. I mentioned the Mac restrictions. You can get around them, but I do so wish Canon would have produced a proper printer driver for this small printer here. Really is a bit of an own goal from my own point of view. But anyway, let's just round up. You can probably see why I would automatically choose this and why I would wonder why anyone would ask, or initially wonder why anyone would ask, why would you pick this one? It's cheap, it's small, don't need, it's lighter than this. The running costs are less. It's actually quite a nice little printer. Just not for the kind of stuff that I would choose this one for. So it's because, why would I pick this one? Print quality, some different types of media, better inks. It really is a matter of what you want the printer for. And if there's one thing I really do, I get asked this a lot, what printer should I buy? And the questions you should always ask are, what do I want to do with my prints? If you can't afford it, tough. You get what you can afford. But that doesn't mean you have to put up with no good prints. Some of these are very nice. People would be very happy with these prints. Depends if you're going to exhibit stuff. I'm going to say this is not the printer for you. Maybe this one is, who knows. But anyway, if anyone's got any specific questions, please do ask. I haven't investigated alternative inks in this, dye sub inks and various things like that, or third-party inks. So keep an eye too on the costs in different parts of the world. I only check stuff in the UK where I'm based. But if you've got more questions, please do ask in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you find it useful. I cover lots more things other than printing and the likes, and hopefully this has been of some use and partly answers the question, which one should you get? Even if the answer is what you want. Thank you.